trying to figure out off the state of what the hell is wrong with looking at yourself as black first before you're anything else, black before you're American, black before you're anything else. What's wrong with that?
Okay, because all black people ain't the same. And like for instance, we all different. So when I say I'm black, what does that mean? The color of my skin.
Can I interject right there?
No. Black people from New York is different than black people from the South. Black people from Africa that came over here as immigrants are very different than African Americans. We're all different. We're diverse like anybody else. When white people say I'm white first, what does that mean?
I would ask that. Forget. I don't want to forget white folks, but I'm like, forget. We're not talking about them at this particular moment. Let's stick with black people in this regard. When you talk about the slave trade, and you said we were enslaved and then traded all over the world. Who are those people? Black people.
Well,
I'm simply saying if you identify with that from an historical perspective, these are my ancestors. This is what we endured. This is where I come from. And that's what I identify with first. Because to some degree, I'm still feeling some remnants of that even in today's society. I'm saying if you identify yourself as black before you identify yourself as American, what you're doing is saying, coming out of the womb, I'm going to be at a disadvantage because I'm in America and I'm going to have to scratch and claw and have an uphill climb. Now, that doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean you use it as a crutch. It doesn't mean that you sit up there and use that as a reason to be lackadaisical and have a defeatist attitude and don't work your way and maneuver your way through that terrain in order to get to that point. But it does mean you at least acknowledging that, there are historical, insidious acts that are associated with this particular nation that I live in. And as a result, I recognize the fact that I'm going to have to march forward and it's going to be a uphill climb for me to get to where I'm going. If somebody identifies that with blackness, you can do that.
But Stephen A., that's not always true that every black person have to suffer an uphill climb. That's not true. And we'll go back to like what I said. My ancestors came from Nigeria, so I know that, through my ancestry.com research, that my people came over here as slaves. Not every black person in America came from slavery. It wasn't the case. Not every black person in America migrated here and was in the South. Some of them went to the North and were in indentured service, and they never were slaves. Some black people came over here and became slave owners and were not slaves themselves. So it's a very dynamic differentiation between the experience of black people in its totality as existing in America. So me saying I'm black first before I'm an American, I think that's a misnomer. I think that's you're pigeonholing yourself, because if you are going to say I'm black, that means negative, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, man. And I say I'm an American first because I believe in American values. My ancestors fought that I can be free in this country. All of our ancestors were not the same, didn't come from the same countries, didn't speak the same languages. We